Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not, fatal vision, sensible, to feeling as to sight? Or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation, proceeding from the heat opposed brain? I see thee yet, in form as palpable as this which now I draw. Like Macbeth's, Elden Ring's dagger might as well be illusory. It's always just used as a vessel for Golden Vow when you need to put an Ash 4 on an actually good weapon. When it's not used like this, it's almost always relegated to being a sidearm for riposts. That's why in this video, I decided to maximize the dagger's damage with a strength build. It turned out to be that this wasn't much of a challenge run, but I did set some rules. Namely, I had to beat the game making sure the dagger was my only weapon, and I would obtain 6 to 7 great runes, leaving out Rye cards for obvious reasons. I also allowed save states to keep cutscene entrances on some bosses. As it turns out, if you play your cards right, the dagger can be absolutely bonkers. The bread and butter of strength builds is stacking buffs. The Cracked Crystal Tear and Axe Talisman both boost charged attacks, and the damage boost is multiplicative. Golden Vow provides a damage buff for 45 seconds, as well as Flame Grant Me Strength for 30. Flame Grant Me Strength also provides increased stamina recovery, which is great when we're running stamina draining charged attacks. The Ash of War used generally brings some variety when doing a strength run. Most builds use either Royal Knight's Resolve, or my choice for the dagger, Cragblade. Cragblade provides a buff to both damage and stance damage for 60 seconds. Given the dagger's lackluster stance damage, I thought Cragblade was a better option, especially when I could often get multiple charged attacks off, greatly lowering the effects of Royal Knight's Resolve, which only buffs the attack after you cast the Ash of War. I start off as a wretch because I don't need armor and the stats are good for what I'm going to be using. After grabbing my horse, I get the Whetstone Knife because I'm too lazy to warp to Hugh for Ashes of War, and then talk to Kenneth Haight. After doing the first part of Kenneth Haight's quest, he'll give you the Earthsteel Dagger, which is normally the best dagger for its high faith scaling, which gets doubled if you add Sacred Blade or Flaming Strike. The basic dagger has slightly higher strength scaling though, so I actually only picked this up to use as my Golden Vow weapon. I take the Waygate into Dragon Barrow so I can rest at a grace outside of Limgrave in order to go to the Round Table Hold and buy the dagger from the Twin Maiden Husks. After warping back, I fail the Knight's Cavalry Cheese an embarrassingly high number of times before making my way through Caelid, picking up the Dectus Half and stopping right after getting the Cragblade Ash of War. I teleport back to Limgrave and grab the Cracked Crystal Tear and Alex Talisman that I talked about earlier before making sure to grab the Grace outside of Fort Height because I would need to kill the Knight at the top in order to get the Earthsteel Dagger like previously mentioned. Nuh-uh. Can I get a backstab? Jesus Christ. Thank you. After acquiring the dagger, I warp back into Stormhill where I can grab the Strength Knot Crystal Tear which gives me plus 10 strength for 3 minutes and kill the Knight for the Golden Vow Ash of War. After this, I run around Liurnia in order to get the Smithing Stone 2s, as well as a couple 3s, and I'll go to the Altus Plateau in order to get the Smithing Spell Bell Bearing to buy infinite 3s and 4s. I also kill the Crystallion for the Bell Bearing and upgrade my dagger to plus 12. I opt to not go for the Finger Seal here and instead go into the Fringefolk Hero's Grave to get the Dragon Communion Seal. What's special about this seal is that it has 0 weight, which will be important for one of the talismans that I'll be picking up later. Finally, I grab Flame Grant Me Strength and head towards Market. Right. Physic. Crag. Flame. Woo! Oh my goodness. I'm way too impressed by that. We don't even have a vow. After putting Margaret's foolish ambitions to rest in what is quite possibly my cleanest attempt at that boss ever, I had an ego larger than a Bears fan when Caleb Williams doesn't even throw for 4,000 yards in a season, and was ready to make my way to the first shard bearer of the run. So if you chug... Ow. GS. Crag. Could've been cleaner. My damage in the Godrick fight was slightly less than what I could manage to output for Margit, so I decided to get my next talisman in the build. Remember when I said that the 0 weight from the Dragon Communion Seal was important? The blue Dancer Charm increases the damage you do the less weight you have, and with less than 8 equip load, it adds almost 15% to your damage. The blue Dancer Charm is located past the boss in the High Road Cave on the north side of Limgrave. I'll show you how that went. Alright, Chug. Vow. Flame. Crag. With a huge damage buff ready, I made my way into Raya Lucaria, where I would face the first boss in the run that would actually pose any threat whatsoever. Alright, let's see how we do here. Alright, we get frame trapped. It turns out I have been focusing a little too hard on strength heading into the Red Wolf fight, meaning that most of his attacks would one-shot me giving my nakedness. Armor wasn't an option here because of Blue Dancer, but since I was doing enough damage to kill Clifford with about half of a hit, I didn't have to get that good to become victorious. A little greedy. I'm going to skip over Moongrum because nothing embarrassing happened here. Right, where's the third nerd? Okay, there's the third nerd. Nope. Aw, man. Probably like one more strength level would have done it. I had forgotten how annoying the Renala fight can be if you don't manage to one-cycle her. The dagger did a ton of damage, but was often just barely too slow to stop her from regenerating her shield. The second phase of this boss shows what I think is one of the most glaring weaknesses of the dagger, its range. Normally, if you have a weapon that can deal basically any stance damage at all, you can micro-stagger her to death. But here, the dagger wasn't long enough to do that, meaning I had to deal with her stalling and ergo my buffs running out. Stalling is cringe. We get a job. Wonderful. Great. We don't. With Renala defeated, I had acquired my second Great Rune, and, by extension, my second additional Talisman pouch. I wanted to fill this with a Ritual Sword Talisman, which gives you an increase in damage when your HP is at its max. This meant that I was off to the Lux Ruins to fight Demi-Human Queen Gillica. Radon was up next, and boy was I ready. After countless of attempts of getting bodied by a paraplegic giant who needs to use gravity magic just so he can get around, I was ready to put some B2A to the Star Scourge with an actually decent weapon. Although the dagger size struggled a bit here, as we all know, it's not the size, it's how you use it that matters. With some clever positioning and the occasional disabling of target lock, almost every swing would connect. I would like to say that fighting the Draconic Tree Sentinel went smoothly, but somehow it got stuck behind a bush next to the stairs and needed a jump attack to get out. My buff routine was very rudely interrupted, presumably because these guys hate fun, but I had been carrying around an extra blue flask, so quick quit out solved that problem. The critical damage of the dagger is higher than most weapons, so the riposte I got here against Pissfree did absolutely disgusting things to his health bar. You need to understand that at this point I still only had a plus 12 weapon and I was still doing egregious things to Morgott. His phase transition gave me time to rebuff, and he barely had any room to breathe during his second phase. One of the worst parts about using a regular smithing stone weapon, in my opinion, is having to carry all your runes from Morgott into mountaintops for the smithing stone bell-bearing 3. It's not difficult to get all the way to Zamora runes without dying, but it's more than possible to slip up as well. Before Fire Giant, I wanted to fill up my final talisman slot, and I chose the Winged Sword insignia, located in a cave dungeon in Liurnia. I acquired this talisman before Fire Giant because it gives increasing damage per hit, something very helpful in Phase 1. Ow. Ow. Oh my god. Stop that. Alright, here we go. Woo! I don't think I needed the whole buff routine, but alas. And we're under 8 still. Let's go. I also made sure to grab this Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone, even though I wouldn't max out my weapon for a little while longer. I think I'll let the Fire Giant fight speak for itself. Alright, oh. Flame. Crag. Chug. Get Vow ready a second time. Alright, let's see how this does. This unironically might be better than the Serpent Hunter. Oh my god. No, dude, Let's face it, even though I died, that was filthy. Alright, now you aggro earlier though, so I think like getting my buffs off is harder. Alright, revow. Reflame. Recrag. You know, my bad for thinking that I would actually have to, like, go where your hands were. That's on me. I didn't put my foot in the left slot. The fact that I was doing that much damage to a fire giant with a dagger. Malenia kills herself because she knows there's nothing that she can do to make herself even 10% as cool as the heavy dagger plus 18, and I'm in Farum Azula ready to fight Smo and Ornstein, but not before getting some sleep pots ready. I tried a couple times trying to figure out why the setup wasn't working before realizing that I needed Assassin's Gambit, so I had to pivot to the one on the side of the arena. This setup doesn't require Gambit, but it does require you to land upon a fatty just aiming off vibes a la Jordan Love in the playoffs. Luckily, unlike Jordan Love, my pass is to his intended target and I have an extra sleep pot remaining for the third Godskin that spawns in. If your damage output is high enough, you can usually get away with only killing the 3, but I had to land 1 attack on the final nibble. The Godskin Duo drops the Smithing Stone Miner's Bell-Bearing 4, meaning I could level up my weapon to plus 25 before the home stretch of the base game. I did the bird skip jump first try, as per usual. There's gotta be at least one guy who has a quit out macro on like their stream deck or something. The first phase of Maliketh is actually a dagger on dagger duel. The weapon that he uses is called Syncadia and is found in the Bestial Sanctum. It actually scales higher with strength than the default dagger, but is a somber weapon so I couldn't put any Ashes of War on it. Maliketh's lock-on point proved to be an annoyance, as my character would aim for it. This would cause my dagger to miss more often than not. I found that standing behind his left thigh yielded consistent results in both phase 1 and 2. Double Triple Actually insane. Alright, that one was on me. I'm not going to blame the game for that one because it was actually my fault, unlike half the other times. Alright, get the double flask to make sure I get Ritual Sword, and then immediately take damage. You love to see it, ladies and gents. You love to see it. Dead. Dead. Alive. Womp. Get him. Yeah, there we go. For the Gideon fight, I wanted to try out some cool tech. Normally, you need to kill Gideon in 3 hits, otherwise he flasks up and starts spamming triple rings of light. But this method finds a way around that. What you do is grab a Frenzy Flame Stone and throw it at his feet. If you attack when he says us, you can land some hits on him, then Madness will proc, giving you another opening. Be mindful that if you try this yourself, the Frenzy Flame Stone uses FP, so make sure to blue flask afterwards or start your buffs earlier. Okay, I don't think I did it right because my music was too loud. I know I need to attack, like hold attack after us. So chug, vow, on flask, get the Frenzy Flame Stone. Should Madness. But we got the stun lock. Tap R2s versus Gideon. What? You know, okay, I thought he was gonna do the, the phase transition, but all right. You do you. Oh, that's fast enough. Don't mind if I do.
It's too easy. It's too easy.
I love fighting Hoaraloo and not letting him get a single chance in the second phase, especially when he gave me so much grief in my first playthrough.
Oh, I'm gonna have a great time with Radabeast.
My build was essentially perfect for the final boss. I had the quick speed for Radagon and the stance damage necessary for Elden Beast. I was more than ready.
Okay, so I need to actually hit the dodge roll timings, but
Okay, take two. You have enough time after Radagon's death to use 2 of the 3 buffs, but deciding the right 2 is important.
yeah, okay. I think getting a crag is more important than a flame. If I can ensure I do that.
Take 3.
And I just won't get hit during not phase 1, during Radagon, so I get the ritual sword. Dagger amount of Elden Stars. Boom.
Even with Elden Beast dead, there were still 2 more Great Runes for me to get, both of which required me to get the Haligtree Secret Medallion, so I do the Castle Soul Jump first try and see what a dagger can do versus Commander Nile.
That's disgusting.
The answer is not much if you decide that dodge rolls are optional. When you decide to actually roll though, the things you do to this boss need to get redacted by the DOJ.
This has no right to be this good.
Moog was up next on the chopping block, containing the 5th of the 6 Great Runes I'd be collecting. I honestly don't have much to say here other than the fact that I almost one-cycled him and it was barely level 100.
First try.
Finally, I entered the Haligtree and then the arena for Loretta, second to last of the bosses in my run, who I was putting up disgusting numbers against. I didn't even let her transition into phase 2.
This is not okay. This is not okay.
Only one thing stood before me and the glory of a dagger slaying the toughest bosses in Elden Ring. Malenia, Blade of Miquella, a thorn on my side since day 1. Would my insane dagger build be enough to take care of her with ease? Okay, that was not my proudest moment, I confess. I decided that if I were going to be Malenia, I needed to do so like the pros. After an embarrassingly long time with only 2 perfect waterfowl dodges to my name, I called it quits for a little while. When I came back, I went into ER Tool and enabled the repeat last action option to practice Malenia's toughest move. I could do it pretty consistently in about 20 minutes, so I hopped back into the real game thirsty for vengeance.
There we go. Let's go.
And yeah, in only a couple of attempts, I was able to take down Malenia in a clean fight. I like to think that I proved something with this run. Almost any weapon in this game can be made great with the right tools.
This is probably why many people like to say that Elden Ring is the easiest Souls game. Well, I'm not here to debate that. Feel free to tell me why I'm wrong in the comments, because I'm still not allowed to have an opinion on the internet.